host, everybody here. I'm raising my hands. It's Krisztina Bell, and I am with No Vacancy Home Staging here in Atlanta, Georgia. And I like to do fun webinars, marketing webinars, but talk about the latest topics that are going on in the real estate market, as well as in the home staging industry. I do teach a home staging CE class, which I usually do a couple of them a month as well, in person, some on Zoom. That real estate agents and investors, flippers, sellers, or even stagers are welcome to come on and take that. 18 years in the business for me. And my guests that I have with us is going to be Barbara up here and Amy right next to each other in your upper right-hand corner. Maybe I don't know what screen you're on. But they're waving there. Barbara Heil-Sonneck is with Design2Sell. Also about 15, 17 years. I lost count with Design2Sell, and she does amazing, beautiful luxury high-end homes, has also added short-term rental staging services and design as well to their portfolio. And then Amy Powers is with Vacation Rental in a Box. She has also been in the staging business for over, gosh, what is it, 15, 16 years or so as well, but is really going nationwide with her staging and focusing on short-term rentals. Hence, she has started her new business called Vacation Rental in a Box. I bring them on because they are top experts in the field. And Barbara kind of focuses more on Atlanta. Maybe she might go nationwide, don't know, but Amy definitely does nationwide. And so we have put together some questions, and I'm going to go ahead. I hit the record button already, but I would love to get started because I definitely want to talk about this. Everybody's freaking out right now about the shifting market. Oh my God, you know, it's slowing down. Well, I hate to tell you guys, but Atlanta market is pretty active right now. We're having a very early spring season because I have got paperwork up the wazoo all around me, quoting up the wazoo. We're staging. My crew is already out today. So that is great to see. There's what I call more of a normalization occurring. So let's just calm down. The media kind of takes it out of proportion. But I always tell people we need to move forward. You have to follow what's happening in the real estate market. Yes, some people might be going this rental route, and we're going to talk about, because I didn't even realize there's more than just short-term rental. There's other options too. So on that note, Barbara and Amy, I don't know who wants to start off, but due to this market shift, what recommendations do you have for somebody who's wanting to maybe invest in the short-term rental? Like, what's a good process to get started maybe? And then, I don't know, I've seen these little tiny houses. What is that all about too? I don't know. I'm throwing that in as an oddball question. Barbara or Amy?
That's a lot of information, questions, I mean, and one.
Well, keep it brief. Keep it brief. We'll keep it simple.
So the best thing to do, the best thing in my opinion, and Barbara will have great insight as well, is to check out data-based platforms like All the Rooms and AirDNA. They will communicate to you information on whatever area you're looking at. If you're looking for certain specific areas near you or even in other states, they will communicate the average nightly rate for that area, the average, you know, how many nights are booked as well in that space. And you want to just collect information and data that will support your profitability for that. And then also, you know, you want to pick a type of property that will be, you know, good for any type of person to access, even though niches are really good. Just like with real estate, the more type of guests that you can get, it can help you keep your property booked. And Barbara will have.
Well, and again, part is like, you know, the market is a constant shift, and it all depends on location, right? So Amy gave some great nuggets on doing the research. And we know this year we will see people leaving, you know, the short-term rental, and we will see also a lot of new people entering. I think, and I will touch on that later, the key difference, if you really want to be successful in the business of running short-term rentals, is you have to have a full hospitality concept and thought concept around it. If you think you treat it as any other standard rental, then most probably that's not the best approach, unless you are in a market where there is a high demand and or a standard property management company can do it, for you. But it requires a whole different mindset and a lot of education around, how it is rented. What I love, and Krisztina, you noted and mentioned the tiny houses, that there are great new concepts up there in LHA, where we have our, 2 in the moment, and we're looking actually, to purchase a couple of more this year. Is we have aligned also with some builders. And they have actually very unique concepts of very unique houses, but they're also much more affordable. So another part is there's different elements, right? It is, what's your target market? It goes down similar what we already know from staging, right? It is about for whom are we doing that? And how is our ideal client avatar? And tiny houses for sure have their specific client avatar. Wouldn't be anything for my husband, who is 6'4", right? The tiny house is out for him, but in general, right? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I
options.
mentioned tiny houses because an article came out in Atlanta, in one of our little Simply Buckhead, and it talked about some tiny houses traveling small and some tips on tricks for a successful stay. And one of them was in Childersburg, Alabama. Some others were in Moonshine Cottage, Canton, Georgia. And then some others were in Edgewood and near the Beltline here in Atlanta.
Yes.
Like 270 square foot
yeah.
studio, tiny.
Yeah.
And
so here we're touching, here we're touching on something else, and it's only thinking about, if you think about heads and beds and you have space, but you might not be able to really put a second property somewhere and or get like approval, there are opportunities and workaround if a tiny house is on wheels, because there's different requirements. So if you think about, expanding or being very creative in how you want to place it, how you manage, how you create, and or even short-term want to expand, there's other opportunities. And if you have done some research, like a tiny house on wheels, starts 70,000. Rough, again, it's all about the numbers, right? At the end, you have to think about, will that work? Are there numbers? So just to put a couple of nuggets out to think outside of the box.
Sure.
Right.
I just thought it was kind of a fun little article about traveling small and how things are just kind of, just unique ideas there. So for those, maybe there might be some people on here too, because I have to kind of think there's newbies, there's maybe stagers, there's maybe some investors on here, maybe there's some people thinking about owning, but also maybe there's somebody, obviously you and Amy already have investments made into short-term rentals already. So what would you recommend to somebody who's kind of, okay, I have one right now, but I'm unsure about this market. I have maybe one or more investment properties currently. How do I move forward to attract, renters, and is there some other options, because we mentioned, I didn't even know that there was these other types of rental options, like short-term, mid-term, long-term. So I guess where I'm going with it is, what would you say would be a good idea for marketing or promoting as we head into this kind of, it's everybody keeps saying it's like a question mark, which to me it is 2023. I don't know what to expect. So far, if things are doing like this, I'm like, well, hopefully that'll stay, but it could change very easily. So I'm looking to you all for suggestions on how to kind of move forward if you invest and already own a short-term rental.
So with short-term rental investing, you always have to consider the design, and that's my forte, is in the design. making sure that your aesthetic is pleasing. You want your property to stand out. Is it Instagram worthy? You want all these things to be notable because, again, just like with real estate, you're selling the competition if you're not doing it right. Right? So you want to make sure you're capturing your audience. And the best way to do that is through like Airbnb, vacation rental by owner. It could even be direct booking if you have an established direct booking platform where they can bypass Airbnb and vacation rental by owner. That's what a direct booking platform is. And your visual aesthetic has to be pleasing and connecting with that audience as well.
Can one of you explain, because I wanted to know more, okay, there's different target market. I don't want everybody to think that, oh, it has to be the vacationer person. I don't always think that. There's what I was listening, going back over another webinar that Barbara and I did together. There's the workationer, and then there's also, nurses, there's other target markets. So can you guys explain a little bit about short-term rental? And then there's this midterm rental, and then there's even option of long-term rental. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we have like this. Yeah, we have like three. Yeah, we have three different, types. We have the short-term rental, and that is, I think aligned often more with the vacationing type of set, with in general, but they can go longer. So we had some for 4 weeks as well, but in general, it is up to a week. On that part. Always, it is very important to understand where you can really run them and where not. So there are always restrictions, and you have to make sure you're doing your due diligence and your research to determine if the area you're planning to invest to allows the short-term rental. Then there are midterm rentals. So this is more, I would say, this is above 30 days and up to 6 months. And target markets for that type of concept could be the traveling nurses. It could also be people moving to a new city or a new area, and they're looking to rent first before they even consider to purchase, and or people who are building, like I was in that position too. I moved twice last year, and I will not do that this year. I can promise you that. So where you're building a house and you are, and the other house sold, and in between you have to find another space to live for a couple of months. So this is, so these are great opportunities. And I believe all of the realtors here on this call can say, yes, this is definitely a market, and knowing places where people, can stay in this medium-term rentals is a great part. Requires a different marketing concept. Also, you have a lot of bigger companies who bring in certain experts for projects, and they need a place to live and stay for a project. I know past when I worked for IBM, we had certain groups coming in for 3 months. And, they all wanted to have a space to live. And if you stay somewhere for a longer period of time, you absolutely appreciate the opportunity of having a nice space versus only a hotel room. And in this more and more competitive market in hiring and finding the right people, being aligned with some of the HR departments and people who are doing that type of placement, and or also real estate agent who might specialize in the area, might be a good opportunity to align. Also could be a wonderful idea for existing real estate agents to consider that this might be a direction to go, because there is a market and a niche for that.
There's also insurance companies that have temporary housing for insurance claims, and flight staffs who, like we have the Atlanta airport here, they may not be stationed here, but they may fly in a lot. So they like to have a home base where they can bring their luggage and wash their clothes. That's not a hotel. Also, we have the entertainment industry here. So whenever movies are being filmed, I have a client who has a property who has been used many times for that. And there are some agents here in Atlanta who specifically cater to that demographic as well. So that is a midterm. Like Barbara said, it's over 30 days to 6 months. Long term is your typical, rental property. So for our purposes, we're talking short term and midterm in this call.
Most of the time. Most of the time. I think the only other element of different types of investing, just to touch point on that, would be also an arbitrage type of rental, which is pretty much a wraparound of an existing rental property where you rent it out to to another party, and that party is furnishing and setting up that rental as a short-term or medium-term rental and managing it. So pretty much you as the owner of the house, continues to get the rent, and the person who is managing it is getting the the income of the rentals. So that is called like a rental arbitrage concept, just to throw that out there as well.
Okay, so just to recap a little bit there, I know we touched on midterm. I was just trying to give people other options, because with this type of unsure market, there is a lot of houses that I will say that, we're average days on market right now in Atlanta, 39, 40. We can go up and down a little bit. Hopefully that'll become shorter and shorter as we head into spring. But, people are going, my house has been sitting for I don't know how long. Maybe I need to go this short-term rental route. And I say houses because the condos, our condo buildings here in Atlanta, they don't allow but just a certain percentage, and that's all long-term. Now there's a few buildings here or there that might allow short, but it's very rare. Just wanted to recap that a little bit. We are focusing on short-term. I just wanted to throw out those other options that are there. Again, and other target markets, having people besides the vacation type, here in Atlanta, being a big city, we have these other options of, nurses traveling. Traveling nurses is huge. It's even happening in Florida, everywhere. And we have the entertainment industry happening. And then also major events that may be coming up in your city too. Start advertising now, especially, ahead of time. That's another big thing. We've got the big, is it 2026, where the football, or not football, sorry, soccer, but football over in Europe, is that whole, what is it called? The soccer,
World Cup.
Come on. Sorry, I'm like at a loss for words. Coming in 2026 to Atlanta, that'll be huge. And then major events like sporting events, Chick-fil-A Bowl, all those type of things too. So that is good to know. And I just wanted to, again, just reiterate some other options, different types of target markets. And so in order to go a step further with that, what are the best ways to market specifically short-term rentals that we had talked about? Amy and Barbara had some really great ideas. Again, I know that the big word that Barbara kept saying over, and even in your previous webinar, was hospitality.
That's my favorite concept, and it's the most important concept, in my opinion, to visualize and to implement, is that you're coming from a real estate market. If you're an investor here on this call and you're like, I have this property that's not on the market. We have this chat in chat, Shaquille asked a question about their house in Decatur.
Yes.
So what your mindset has to be, the shift is you're coming from real estate and you're going into hospitality. It's a completely different industry. Even though it's still a house, either side of the fence is still a house, it's a different industry. So you have to change your mindset to, how am I going to make life easier, convenient? How am I going to show hospitality through the things that I'm putting in that property for guests to appreciate, and so that I can keep my bookings high? And so that is the mindset that is so critical when it comes to, shifting from real estate to short-term rental and even midterm rental.
And Amy, what's the process of that? So in Atlanta, isn't now they're starting to charge certain fees so they would have to change. What do they have to do? Change the setup of how the house is listed somehow, or to a short-term rental, or how does that process
I mean,
work?
it would have to be on a short-term rental platform
Platform? Okay.
versus, which is, like we said before, it's bookings.com. It could be VRBO, vacation rental by owner, or Airbnb. And there's a couple others out there as well. Those are the most dominant
Do they have to
three.
file certain paperwork in the county to let them know that they're doing that?
Yes, if you're in the city of Atlanta, they're pushing rules, I guess is the right word, where you have to live in Atlanta and you can only have one extra property as an Airbnb. I will say midterm rentals is a way to bypass that. You don't have to have that commitment if you're doing midterm rentals. Is that right, Barbara? I think so.
Yes, there are different rules and regulation. Also has different types of tax implications because you are taxed like hospitality. If you're running through platforms like VRBO, Airbnb, they are doing that part for you. So in that way, a lot of that is covered. But you have to really look at on the county websites in whatever county you are in, of what are all of the requirements. So you want to do your due diligence there as well. So it's not only, it's because it's a change, because it's a hospitality concept. So that's important. And, every county has a little bit their own, regulations there as well, rules and regulations.
I think in
Right, and
Atlanta,
a
there's
lot of
also short-term rental association organization type too. Yes? Is that
Yeah.
there are they have a strong one here in Atlanta called Amstra,
Mhm.
and I don't know. I know we have people from all over. I would just Google your area and see if there's a short-term rental association near you. If there's not, and you're involved in the short-term rental industry in your area pretty heavily, I would connect with other investors and other short-term rental owners and start one. It's a good way to make sure that your interests are being lobbied when it comes to government regulations, which is what ours here in Atlanta. I mean, if it was not for that organization, we would have already have those rules in place. Right now, they're just theories and they keep pushing them out because we keep fighting it. But it would have already been implemented if we did not have those associations in place. And a lot of the reasons why those things are being pushed is because of party houses, one or two bad seeds, in the bunch that's causing problems for the whole industry or for a neighborhood or whatever. So there are also things in place to prevent those from a security perspective. And we can talk about that if you want.
I don't know. Sure.
Since I open up that can of worms.
Yeah, if you want to mention or talk
So
a little
there's
bit about
sensors that you can put. I think Minute is one of the businesses that offers that. You can put sensors in your ceiling that detect noise, and if it consistently is going on for 10 minutes or so, it'll alert the owner or whoever's managing it. And then as well, you can start taking action. You can call the police, you can contact your guest or whatever. Also, the Ring doorbells, cameras outside the property, never inside the property. That's unethical and creepy. We don't want that. But you can see how many cars are parked. You can hear, how many people are coming in. You're alerted to those things. So there are ways to protect your investment property from those things happening so that you can be a positive impact in the short-term rental industry and say we don't have that problem because we put these things in place.
Barbara, do you want to add to that at all or no?
Well, I think Amy covered it.
Yeah,
The
that's
only
what I
part
thought.
is with all, if you're
Yeah.
really running it, I think the only add-on is even with all of technology, you will have the Schlagedor, whatever. We'll use them, we love them because it's easy, but there are others where you can have several codes where people easily can enter, and also where you give them access codes to enter and also leave the property after. even with all the technology, the big advice, no matter what, is to have still a backup key somewhere in another separate hidden lockbox, just in case, the power failure, anything can happen. And so it's always good to have a backup for the backup. So hospitality thinking is always think about, the backup for the backup, because, you don't want to run out, at night to open a door for somebody who has locked themselves out and can't get in anymore for whatever reason, right?
Or for convenience, for even checking in. You don't have to deal with check-ins. Like my family, when we travel, we love the journey as much as the destination. So we do a lot of like road foods and travel. We get there at midnight if we have to, right? So we don't want to have to inconvenience anybody. So it's good to have those same things in place for that convenience as well.
Okay, some other questions that came up. One that says, what trends do you see for the north suburbs of near Atlanta, like Lake Lanier, or it could be anywhere in the northern areas that are closer to lakes, and those areas? What type of properties should somebody look for to invest in for Airbnb? That's a good question.
Well, I am, and Amy, everybody who has heard me, I'm very much determined on niching as much as you can niche. I am a strong believer that as more as you can clearly define your target audience, as easier it is to market. Our niche are dogs, and we are,
friendly is what you mean.
to the excellence, and we have no breed restrictions, we don't have size restrictions, which is, a very unique concept around we have built. So it's all about the dogs, the fenced in yards, whatever else. If you're at the lake, some playground for the dog. So everything is, the toys, everything you can even imagine. And we are very creative, always putting new things out there. If you're at the lake, if it's really okay, what is unique about that property? One of the short-term rentals we were actually working with at the lake, they were very unique. They had they built a house where, they live in one element of the apartment, but had 3 others they're renting out. But the way the house was constructed, it also had the opportunity that you can pull in your boat, that you had, you can really set that aside. You have separate entrances. So we work not only on that concept, but really also a hospitality concept from all of the different elements of how you are entering the property, how it is set up, if it is more than one. So, wherever you are, in whatever location you are, it is what would be different? What is already out there? Do your research, how could you be different? And of course, the house itself might determine what it is. So honestly, it always goes back to who's your ideal client avatar. A lot of people talk about head and beds, and you want to have so many people sleeping. Our concept is completely contrary to that concept. Our concept is we only want to have actually 2 people, maybe, 4 max. We don't want to have the tons of people sleeping because our concept is different. So we want to attract a very specific niche market. And there's more time you're spending to define that. That is what we do when we are consulting, is really understanding and coaching our clients through that concept of what they really want so that they stand out. So honestly, we want to attract the unique elements. So similar, if you think about our staging business, whatever else, whom are you attracting? It's the same concept, as a realtor, with whom do you like and work best, right? That's how your referral coming in over time. Same concept, only turned around, for the short-term rental space. Really clearly determine what that could be. And would you have access to that target audience? You have funny and concepts out there. If you are in this, con environment where, like Dragon Con, whatever else, and you are extremely connected in this environment, why not to set up something which is very extreme? Because again, at the end, there is a market for everything. If you are, love shoes, you can have your Italian shoe designer creating your shoes, right? What I mean is, in today's environment, you have access to target audiences. And, the question is, what could be different, right? I feel broad is out, uniqueness, and that doesn't mean extremeness. Is what people see, because hospitality is an experience. But again, it's always the caveat. It depends on location. And, on the beach house, you might, you want to have it nice, but you don't have to be unique. You might be unique in the services you're providing. And that might be uniqueness. So, uniqueness is not only defined by the design, but also by the overall experience end to end. Amy?
So that piggybacking off of the experience versus the design is you can offer things as like in a lake environment, the what are those things called that you can ride on the water?
Jet skis.
Jet skis, thank you. Sorry. So, having things like that, having floats, having lifeguard vests or safety vests, and you can upsell those things. You don't have to just provide them. That can be something, not everyone may need them, so upsell them. Have a special place on the property where it has a code and they're upselling, and when they pay for it, they get the code, right? And they're responsible for just getting out what they need. That could include anything and everything. It could include sunblock, extra towels that you might have on top of what you might already be providing. So there's a whole bunch of things to be creative outside of just the design, but things that can actually bring revenue to you, because they're going to go shopping for some of those things anyway.
Right.
Why not take out the middleman and you take care of it and you get the revenue for that?
Yeah.
So and I was looking on my phone there's an actual website that does all that work for you. Like they'll put it up there, they can pay through there, and then they're just alerted. And I can't find it right now, but I'll look for that.
Yeah, but let us
and
know
give that
on
to
that
you.
one. And I assume, Barbara, with your, allowing of pets and stuff, there's extra charges and fees, I would believe, for that, and cleaning fees, I would think, in addition as well. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Probably is that extra? You charge decent amount to cover that?
Well, you have to embed that into your marketing concept. Here's one part, and big learning. People don't like to be surprised on upcharges. So we have this, for us, it is a concept, it is calculated into the price. And then there is a standard cleaning fee, which is a standard cleaning fee, which a lot of people are utilizing anyhow. So again, you have to really think how you are surprised, right? You're looking for a deal, you spend all of the time, you find your perfect little property, and then suddenly, if you're looking at the end number, it comes out to be double the price than you originally thought. That's not a pleasant surprise. That's actually already a negative. So you have to, pricing, that's a whole different conversation we can have around short-term rentals, whole different conversation.
Whole different conversation, yes.
But you don't want to be surprised, right? People want to know what they can expect, because then it can turn into a negative.
Yes, and recent updates in Airbnb's policy, they're making that more transparent as well, because that is a big issue and concern.
So as we're kind of becoming, I can tell that everybody's being a little bit more budget friendly these days, penny pinching a little bit, because we just don't know what this economy is going to do. So I'm sure everybody, because I can tell by the way the questions are coming in, and I don't want to get too detailed there because we could have a whole nother webinar, but let's just touch a little bit, everybody, on budget friendly tips and ways to stage decorate. What's most important? And I do know, again, I was reviewing our past webinars that we had done with Barbara. Durability and comfort were the two words that kind of came out that I saw. And mattress, couch, high dollar items. I'll let you guys fill in the rest. Barbara, what do you think?
Yes,
Sorry.
you're 100% correct, and I will add to that that anything that your body touches or rusts on, and durability isn't just the quality of the fabric, checking the density, how it pulls. You know, if you see light through it, it's probably cheap, not good quality. Um, if it has, you also have to check how much body weight it can hold, beds and chairs and sofas, because you never know what type of guest is going to be in your property. So you want to make sure it's comfortable and usable by any type of person. That protects you. You think liability, those things can be more expensive. They don't necessarily have to. There's a bed on Amazon for like 150 bucks that holds 3,000 pounds.
Oh my God.
That's way more than necessary, but it's not expensive, right? So, you know, you just have to check all the right boxes, making sure you're covering yourself. And also, you know, you're protecting your asset, you're protecting your reputation, because the reviews are very critical for you to keep having positive, you know,
So mattress and
guest
couch would
activity.
probably be the ones you probably want to spend, you know, make sure you buy a good quality because it needs to last.
Yes.
So
Sofas, beds, outdoor furniture.
Barbara, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, already what Amy said, I think the key part too is, and I think this is my phrase, no matter what, cheap can cost you. So you have to determine what are the items you really have to consider the higher quality, and also how that translates, into the guests and user experience. So I think that's the one part. There are other areas where you can save, but ordering something, less online is wonderful, but what we always have to consider on top of it is assembly. And that can take on a lot of time and therefore another investment in itself. So it needs to be thought through, and that's, so you can always order things, but again, inexpensive, but thinking, okay, how much time it's also invested in the whole element of assembly is definitely something, to look at as well. And with that comes durability. A dresser in general who needs to be assembled most likely is not as sturdy as somebody who comes, already, in one piece. So certain elements of durability and also security, specifically I have children, right? And, that they're not easily fall, things like that you have to think about it. In staging, we're utilizing a lot of glass. You don't want to have that in a short-term rental. So glass is out. So that, I think, is a generic statement. You don't want to have anything which is easily breakable or easily can fall. Like, three-legged coffee tables can look perfect. But, and again, target audience, how easily could they fall? How easily could, somebody else get hurt out of it? Because liability is a key element with short-term rentals as well. But you can be in budget. There's nothing wrong. Here's the funny thing, my part is like, yes, you can go to Home Goods and, and you can go to Goodwill, right? There is certain elements you can get on a budget. However, for me, I always translate time is money, right? At the end, it's all about also calculating in the time it takes to send somebody to do all of that. So it has to make sense. At the end, it's a business decision, one-to-one. If you do it for yourself, yeah, perfect. I also believe that often people have a misconception about the investment, because often they're only adding up the big items, which in general is 50% of the total investment of a total hospitality concept, because a lot goes into the areas you don't see. It is the kitchen cabinets, it's the plates, it's all of the pots and pans, it is the vacuums, it is everything which is expected around it. And that is another element. So, portion is, if you're looking and evaluating and comparing, it has to be apples to apples. And And if you are a budget conscious investor, you might want to do things like that by yourself. There's combinations. I can tell you, if you, after you have done it a couple of times by yourself, you might change your mind. And again,
Yes.
it's the difference if you see it as a one-time thing. It's like the one, you know, you see a short-term rental as an opportunity of maybe having a second place. You might want to utilize and use now and then, and you know, and pretty much, you know, pay it off. So it's more like a strategic direction. You also see as an opportunity for retirement, build additional wealth in real estate while somebody else is paying like an expanded concept, which a lot of people were thinking when they invest in single family homes. So it really depends, right? It all depends. At the end, it is hospitality, and can't, you know, not this one cannot be managed, you know, from far. There definitely has to be somebody, you know, close, even if that is a property management company, but you need somebody who is close, who is there to ensure everything is perfect.
Well, that
Yes.
brings up another question, I guess. Then where does somebody go to find a good management company, or should they try to do it themselves? Is it best to hire somebody? What would be some good pointers and tips on that? We haven't even touched on that.
Do you want to
Amy, I'll
take-
let you go first.
Okay. So the best concept, there are some nationwide companies like Vacasa, and that's the only one I can remember right now. That if you have properties nationwide, you might want to hone in on and use those type of companies. So everything's streamlined, your processes are streamlined, and you know what to expect with that company. But if you're locally, you only have one or two, you probably want to go with a local property management company that specializes in short-term rental properties as well. And they have, again, those systems are in place for them. They have the cleaners, excuse me. They have people that can do maintenance on the property should something happen, a toilet, you know, pipe bust or something like that. And they have landscapers and the people in place to make sure the property is showing its best. So that's my opinion, Barbara.
Well, I agree. I think if you're running it as a business and own multiple, you can negotiate deals differently with a company who is, you know, nationwide or bigger in a local area. If you run it in have only one, you definitely want to be more local and, you know, align. So interview and really understand. There are so many different concepts of how a management company is charging, but on average, you have to consider between 15 and 20% of your, you know, net income is pretty much like, I think it's a safe sum P to budget in if you have a property management company. Different levels, different types of service, what they're all doing for you. Yeah, part is like, it's really compare, get typical part, want to get 3 quotes in, interview several, look also at their rating, and also, yeah, booking history, if that is possible.
And Amy, can you type in the chat box there for somebody who's asking a question about a management company that they can go to, or any names? You mentioned the name of one, I believe.
Oh, Vacasa was one. And there are several. There are
Is there
tons.
one called Elevate or something?
Yeah, Elevate is another
Elevate?
one. Mm-hmm.
So we
I
got
think-
Elevate.
I'm
and
also going to add
okay, you're gonna type
the host.co is the company I was mentioning earlier, where you can basically have a virtual store in on your property, and they will, you know, take care of all that so you can have extra revenue. And they have a ton of ideas that can include like champagne flutes and things like that, anything little extra things that you know may want to consider. So I'm going to look up other.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another, again, when we're talking about this hospitality concept, so, we had even, like Valentine's dinner, you are aligned, you can make additional money, and that's pretty much your income through add-on services in aligning and utilizing and having, when they are booking through your site and utilizing your service. So we made a special arrangement with our cleaning company, and they have set up some nice part, booking up. Not all areas have like, the services provided, but up there, she already knows and was aligned. So she was setting it nicely up with the flowers and some balloons and beautiful chocolates. And so when they arrived, it was a nice surprise. So for the
Yes.
wife. So made the husband very happy, the wife very happy, gave us another 5-star review.
Right. And to add on to that, Barbara, they can also bring groceries for that first night, and make sure that there's groceries in the fridge,
So that kind of leads me into kind of our
convenience.
final question. And so how, we've maybe made that investment or we're looking to invest, but what are the best ways to attract those long-lasting renters that keep coming back over and over again? Sounds like the Valentine's thing is a winner and groceries, but when marketing an STR, any other last good tips to get those 5-star reviews and get the repeat business to come back again? Because obviously, this might be an investment that's a rental, so you might just keep doing it and maybe not sell the house. So last thoughts here. We got 10 more minutes to go. Any other last minute questions, people, you can throw in the chat box? Maybe we might have time to answer.
Well, one thing we are doing is, really engagement, all the way. And, that is even before the arrival and after. And then we, for us, will ask if they want to share some of the experiences. Since we have the dogs, we'll ask for a lot of doggy pictures. And that's part of their review. But again, you have to think about how you can engage at a whole different level. So this is how Maddie enjoyed her stay, right? Bubble, bubble, bubble. And so pretty much, sharing her experience.
Instagram photos of the dogs that stay at your rental. That's
absolutely. So it's really that. And, Amy mentioned that before, the Instagrammable moment from a design perspective. So what area, inside, outside, is an Instagram moment? For us, we have a lot of deer passing. So other people, I know another friend of ours, not in our area here in Georgia, but they have horses, they are passing by their vacation rental. So it's like horses coming. It's an experience.
Right.
We sometimes even have a bear. So we tell you have to be careful, with what you're putting out there in the mountains, but it's an experience. But people love the deer passing, right? So that's, if you sit and we know already at what time, that is an extra experience. So what could be an experience in your area? Amy?
Perfect word, experience. Experience is part of the experience, right? Not just the journey to get there, but what's happening while you're there. That can include games, making sure you have plenty of games. If you're in an area that's going to be very cold, hot cocoa, plenty of extra blankets, making sure your Wi-Fi doesn't go out because they may have to stay in, making sure that they have the Netflix and, all the channels that they need. And, they can even put in their own account so that their movies that they've been watching it's right where they left off. They don't have to fight anything. So Wi-Fi is huge. And then for those horror stories that Constance brought up, there's always going to be somebody that does something wrong, right? You just have to make that part of your plan. You have to assume something could happen when it comes to bedding. Have 3 extra sets of bedding. Make sure you have extra sets of pillow. If it comes to the things that are design element, one client I work with always buys double the amount of pillow covers for the throw pillows. So if one needs to be cleaned, their cleaners can whip one out, and everything's the way that it looks online, and guest expectation has been met, right? Very important. So you got to plan for those things. and hope the best, qualifying your guests, like Barbara said, have them, send me pictures. I want to know who's going to be there. Just that communication and making sure your policies are in place, that you're clearly communicating guest responsibility as well as what, you're offering. And I'm trying to read through to make sure I covered everything.
So Amy,
So
go ahead.
another thing that I recommend too is if you're getting started, do it right the first time. Don't think, let me just do what I need to do to get it up and running. Do what you need to do right the first time, and you'll always have positive guest experience.
Go ahead and put
That's
your
it.
information in the chat box, Amy, so that people know where they can reach you and your company name, telephone number, just in case they might have some questions. Barbara, any last thoughts, words of wisdom on short term?
Well, test it out by yourself before somebody launches. You pretty much want to have a private shop. You want to be a private shopper, so you want to test drive, the installation to ensure it really works as designed, it works as planned. So that's I think a last minute suggestion. Also, understanding, and again, I know it goes into the nitty-gritties, but washing and cleaning is a key part of the whole concept. So even ordering the right size of a washing machine and also the dryer plays a key role, right? Unless everything is outsourced. So it depends on location, how many you are running. That's a whole different level. We could talk a whole hour about, concepts around cleaning and service in that area as well. But makes, sense. So, what type of coverlets, all of that, an experienced short-term rental designer needs to know will know all of this. So trying to plan for it. That's why I say test running it, putting things in, having it through, know where there might be certain elements of shortcomings, so at least you have a plan of action afterwards.
Awesome.
I hope
Oh
that
my
helps.
God, this has been so awesome. Amy, any
Can
last
I make a small advertisement? I teach other stagers because we have a few on the call. I know most of you. I teach other stagers how to do what I do too, and have a course that I offer, as well as in January, I'm going to have a course for investors to learn how to do what I do for their own properties, or at least have an understanding. If they want to work with a designer, they have a lot more information to work with than just DIYing it on their own and trying to get it right, but not really getting it right. So if you have any questions, my information's in the chat and you can reach out to me. I'll be glad to direct you in those areas.
Barbara's also putting her information in the chat box as well.
Yes.
And this has been recorded. So those of you that might want to see it again, only the attendees, we would like to be able to have access to that. So you can email me or Barbara or Amy, but I'll put my email address again. I'm with novacancy-atl.com is the website there. This has been amazing information. And of course, Amy and Barbara and I are also, my word of the year is collaboration, everybody. So we are definitely going to try to maybe even do a lunch and learn. And, we want to hear your stories, experiences, because obviously, if there's anything that Barbara, Amy, mostly them, because I'm not into the short-term rental. I just stage vacant houses and focus on real estate agents, but they are the experts, and definitely come. We'll come up with a date and time and a place, maybe soon here in the next couple of months, and see how things are going. Because it looks like I saw a couple people are preparing some STRs right now to go live here soon in the spring, and of course heading into the fall. Atlanta, it's very popular here in Atlanta, obviously, but it's definitely nationwide. And I really think that it's going to be a future investment, even for the aging baby boomers. It's going to be their other income as well. And I think it's exciting to see. There's all kinds of rental type properties that are popping up even here in Atlanta. That's a little scary. Communities are being built, houses are being built as rentals, not to sell houses. And I know of this because I'm going to be staging some. It's a little interesting to see a different concept there. So this is a new industry and people are still learning more and more about it. And we'll definitely be doing some more webinars. I definitely want to do a lunch and learn, hopefully here in Atlanta, but that is pretty much, we got 2 minutes left at the end. We'll leave early, but I just want to thank Amy and Barbara for hopping on. We'll definitely probably do another one of these. Like I said, watch for future webinars, classes. You guys will be in my database as well and sharing your information with Amy and Barbara too. So we're all connected here and we appreciate the stagers. I haven't seen you guys in a while, but thanks for coming on to get some pointers and tips. Be sure to follow me as well. If you're trying to get more information or attend any of a webinar type events coming up, I'm at Krisztina Bell. Amy's on Instagram, Barbara's on Instagram, Facebook. You can follow all of us if they want to put their tags in there. If there's anything else, Barbara, Amy, again, thank you guys so much. And I appreciate it. Take care, everybody, and have a good rest of the day.
Wonderful. Yes, and thank you. Appreciate it. Also thanking everybody participating and, good luck with the ventures you're planning.